Hey everyone, Dr. Brad here from drellisor.com, Kids Eating Broccoli podcast. Today's topic is, what is leaky gut? And this is the best analogy I've ever borrowed. And really I am borrowing it because I'm going to give credit where credit is due. And this analogy that I'm going to share that I think helps explain what leaky gut is in a way that's really reasonable and understandable. I'm borrowing from a gentleman named Dr. Tom O'Brien, who is one of the foremost experts in gluten sensitivity and leaky gut syndrome and the effects of that. He's awesome. I've now been listening to all the podcasts I can find of him because he explains it in such an understandable way. So here's the analogy, and I may not do it exactly like he does. So anyway, inside our bodies, we have our intestinal system, our guts, and it's a long tube that's, 25 feet long or something like that, that zigzags back and forth along inside our abdominal area. And along the walls of this intestine are these finger-like projections. And we can look at them like they are the shag on a shag carpet. If everything's going great and healthy, they're full shag, like a shag carpet. And so what happens is when we eat food and we chew it up and we digest it, our stomach and then our small intestine, large intestine, they break all the food particles down, food molecules down into smaller and smaller basic constituents, vitamins and minerals and amino acids and fats and things like this. And so then we have these finger-like projections. The shag carpet is where all of those molecules are then absorbed through into our bloodstream, where then they can go around and be distributed to all the right places, the liver and all the different areas that will turn them into energy and the basic constituents that we'll use for building our new cells. So now in our intestinal system, the shag carpet is covered by basically something like a cheesecloth. And what the cheesecloth does is it only lets particles of a certain size through to get to the shag of our carpet. And so when everything is intact and working well, we don't have a leaky gut at all, this cheesecloth is intact. And so as different size food particles and molecules that aren't broken down enough bounce into that, they keep bouncing off, and then more enzymes and other chemicals, digestive juices will start to break them down further until they're small enough to go through the cheesecloth and then get absorbed into our bloodstream. So what leaky gut is when that cheesecloth gets injured or torn, and bigger holes are torn in the cheesecloth. And now, if you can follow the analogy that we're borrowing, larger size particles of foods and bigger molecules can now fit through the cheesecloth and then be absorbed right into the bloodstream. This is a big problem because, well, for a number of reasons, but sort of the short answer of why that's a big problem is that now these are seen by our body as foreign invaders because they're molecules and fragments that are bigger and not what we're used to getting into our bloodstream. And so then our immune system fires off, because that's what our immune system's job is to identify foreign invaders and then attack them and mount a response. Now, back to the shag carpet and a little bit about why we have so many people that have celiac disease and autoimmune conditions and other problems, including in our kids, we're seeing, attention issues, inattention, behavior problems, hyperactivity, and things like that, is because our cheesecloth getting torn is not an uncommon thing or an unusual thing. If we eat, anything with chemicals in it, gluten is one of the biggest things that tears the cheesecloth. There's also bacteria that are on our food that sometimes do that. But a little bit of that is okay and normal, at least, because that cheesecloth is one of the fastest growing repairing tissues in our body. So it recovers and repairs itself very quickly. And so if you eat something and it does a little bit of damage to the cheesecloth, then we repair it before anything else happens, right? Maybe one or two molecules get through, not enough to cause a big systemic inflammatory response. But each time that happens, so these things get through the cheesecloth, and if they're irritants, so toxins or things like gluten, they come in and they break down, or they come and they clip like these shag pieces of our shag carpet. Now, if the cheesecloth repairs and we have time where there's not the insult again, those shags grow back to their normal. Everything is great, fine and dandy. But then what can happen if we get a repeated insult and our cheesecloth is chronically injured over time is that we start to lose our ability to repair it fast enough. So then the shag starts to get worn down and down and down until we get what's called a Berber carpet. I had to look that up. But Berber is like that carpet that almost has no shag to it. And so the cheesecloth is now ruined, and our ability to absorb and digest nutrients correctly is messed up. So we have this immune response and autoimmunity. We have systemic inflammation. We're having malabsorption issues and a whole bunch of other sensitivities and gut issues. So basically, leaky gut is when our cheesecloth gets holes in it. And then chronic or pathologic leaky gut, where it starts causing more other systemic inflammatory problems, autoimmune diseases, brain inflammation, so on and so forth, is as a result of the cheesecloth being chronically injured and damaged, and then us not being able to repair it fast enough. So, modern American diet, you eat some cold cereal in the morning for breakfast, so you got your gluten exposure, you have artificial flavorings, artificial colors sometimes. All of those are injurious and damaging to the digestive system. Lunchtime, you have a sandwich, so more gluten exposure, maybe some GMO corn chips with that, or some chips that are fried in GMO corn oil. So more damage to the system. Maybe an apple that's been sprayed with a bunch of pesticides and herbicides. So more damage to the system. Then for dinner, we have a big plate of pasta, more gluten exposure, more damage to the system, on and on and on, day after day after day. And this causes a chronic damage, chronic insult, and leaky gut syndrome. So that is essentially the basic analogy that I love for the leaky gut syndrome. It's the cheesecloth over the shag carpet. Cheesecloth gets holes in it, bigger stuff gets through. That's a problem. So just want to drop the basics of this, the basic understanding. And then in the next days and weeks, we're going to be covering a couple other things about leaky gut. We're going to talk about how it affects your immune system, specifically how this can lead to food allergies and food sensitivities, how it can lead to inflammation, what we can do to find out if we have this problem going on, and what foods we might be sensitive to or have allergies to, and then what to do about that, ways to heal this, and so on and so forth. So stay tuned. We'll be covering those things in the subsequent days and weeks, because this is an important topic that I think we all could use a little more awareness about, understanding about, because it's huge. And so many of us and so many of our kids deal with varying degrees and varying levels of this. And what we end up doing is seeing the end product or the symptoms, brain inflammation, or we see behavior issues, or we see an autoimmune condition we call MS, or rheumatoid arthritis, or whatever the case may be, heart troubles or liver troubles or brain, as we get older, our brains stop working as well. But those really, to borrow another analogy from Dr. Tom O'Brien, those are like the black smoke out of the tailpipe of your car. The problem isn't the black smoke, that the black smoke is indicative of something upstream. And what we have found and discovered is that leaky gut is such a big part of the upstream problems. So anyway, stay tuned on the Dr. Ellisor Trusted Health Advisor Facebook page. We're going to be covering these things going forward. And so I hope you'll join us and like that page if you haven't already, and stay tuned. And you guys take care. Oh, by the way, also you can join our closed Facebook group. It's called the Family Wellness Legacy. I'll put a link in the comments on the Trusted Health Advisor Facebook page. And that way you can get all the up-to-date stuff just to that group, but you're welcome to join. So check it out, and you can also just search Facebook Family Wellness Legacy. All right, you guys take care. This is Dr. Brad signing off. We'll see you next time.